Clap when you land. Camino, Yajaira, 19 days after. I haven't talked to El Cero since he last approached me. But today, as I'm squeezing the water from my hair, he comes out from behind the trees. Viralata was chewing on some bones as I left the house and didn't join me on this trip to the water. But still, I scanned the tree line, hoping to see him napping in the shade. A small patch of short curly hair springs on from the neck of El Cero's shirt. I am reminded he might smile boyishly, but he is not a boy. I am glad I am near home, because there are houses beyond the clearing. Because in this moment I am a girl a man stares at. I am not a mourning girl. I am not a grieving girl. I am not a parentless girl. I am not a girl without means. I am not a non's charity case. I am not almost alone. None of those things matter. He approaches, wide mouth smiling. I have my motorbike, he points. Want to ride home? He wraps his hand around my wrist. I snatch my arm away as my cell phone starts ringing. I scramble to grab the phone from my back pocket. Tia's name flashes on the screen. Hello, Tia. I back away from El Cero. Tia does not say one word, but I hear the tears in her sharp breaths. They found him. I just got word that 4 days ago they found him. They found what is left of him, and they have decided to bring him home. I murmur to Tia, but no, she cannot hear me. A body means there is no miracle to hope for. Dead is dead is dead. For 4 days, I didn't know. You did know, I tell myself. We knew there were no survivors. But somehow this proof sledgehammers my heart. Someone needs to light the candles, to call the funeral home and contact his friends. Someone needs to make flower arrangements and call a church. And the only someone is me. I put the phone in my back pocket, confronting El Cero face to face. Whatever you want from me, forget it. I have nothing to give you. It makes me sick that I found out this news here, in this place I love, with a man I am growing to hate. I rush away from him, but not before I hear him say, "But Camino, you owe me more than you think. And hasn't it always been about what I can offer you?" When I get home, Tia has lit candles. Although he was not her brother, I can't imagine what she must feel. I've known my father my whole life. She knew my father all of his. Tia was a healer's apprentice as a child, 7 years old, and in the room when Papi was born. 7 years late, years later, saw him fall in love with my mother. She was the first person to hold his child. Even when he came to visit this house he paid for and updated, Papi treated Tia like an older sister. So much respect for how she kept the house, for the belief she had, the decisions she made regarding my well being. They were friends, but until this moment, I have not thought of what she's lost. He was like her brother, besides me, her only family, and on this day, that ends all hope. We hold each other close, thinking of a man and all the people that must live on without him. Tia tells me she has heard rumors. She is speaking to me the next morning as we await news regarding Papi's body. Her hands pluck the feathers of a chicken. She is methodical, her fingers fast along the fluff that she drops into a plastic bag in the kitchen sink. The big machete that is never far from her side catches the light through the window. It glints at me, and I wish I could carry it with me. Tia tells me both Don Mateo and the woman who sells fruit have mentioned seeing El Cero waiting for me after school, or walking from the beach soon after I've left it. I take a deep breath. I want to tell Tia it's all true, that I'm afraid of the thing El Cero wants to ask of me. Her voice is stripped of any emotions, but if fingers can be angry, hers must be wrathful. She plucks in hard snatches. I rate you smart, right, girl? This is not a question she actually wants answered. I can tell by how fast she speaks. Tia's anger now sounds like it could be directed at me. That thought puts a staying hand on the words that were going to leap from my lips. I raised you clean and fed, even when my feet were soiled, when my own stomach rumbled. Right, girl? I grew you up for a future different than the one most girls around here are allowed. Choices. Did I not do everything to provide you choices? The feathers bulge in the bag, and I wish I was just as light. But I feel weighted down, her words turn to stones. Tia thinks I have been inviting El Cero's attention. Somehow his Somehow his talking has turned into something I must have done. The chicken is nearly naked, raw and puckered, dressed in saggy skin. A feast for our hunger, a place to gnash our teeth, since neither of us can bite at the world. I wish I could tell Tia that El Cero won't leave me alone. I haven't done anything wrong or encouraged him in any way. He just shows up grinning, waiting. I wish I could tell Tia I don't know what to do, that I'm scared he'll corner me. I wish I could tell Tia, but what would Tia do if she knew? Tia is older, with little money. She is respected in the neighborhood and beloved by the people to whom she offers care. But El Cero occupies a world of men who care little of healers, and even less of the girls, who represent little more than dollar signs. Don Mateo is old. Tio Jorge does not know me. There is no one to stop El Cero anymore. What would El Cero do to Tia if she tried to stand up to him? I cannot even think the thought. I am from a playground place. I am from a playground place. Our oceans that we need for fish are cleared so extranjeros can kite surf. Our land, lush and green, is bought and sold to foreign powers so they can build luxury hotels for others to rest their heads. The bananas and yucca and sugarcane, farmed and harvested, exported, while kids thank God for every little scrap. The developed world wastes gas, raises carbon emissions and water levels that threaten to disappear us in a single gulp. Even the girls like me, our mothers and tias, our bodies are branded jungle gyms. Men with accents picks up, pick up, no, men with accents pick us as if from a brochure to climb and slide and swing. And him, El Cero, he has his hand in every pocket. If you're not from an island, you cannot understand what it means to be of water, to learn to curve around the bend, to learn to rise with rain, to learn to quench an outside thirst, while all the while you grow shallow until there is not one drop left for you. I know this is what Tia does not say. Sand and soil and sinew and smiles, all barter. Who reaps? Who eats? Not us, not me. Tia doesn't believe girls should wear all black. I was 13 the first time she let me buy a black dress I wanted for my middle school graduation. It's the same black dress I pull out from the closet to wear to the meeting with the priest. It still fits. I slide on the straps. I pull on black stockings despite the heat outside. Tia doesn't blink when she sees me. She just turns around so I can button her with her white blouse. She wears a white head wrap too. I know the priest will raise a brow, but Tia doesn't care. She's armored in her saints. And they make her brave or reckless, or are they the same? All white like this shows undue devotions to the saints. and our priests don't want to know what's practiced in secret. Tia and I stare at the mirror, the two of us framed in copper. Tears pulling her gaze, and I immediately wipe them where they collect in the wrinkles around her eyes. She doesn't flinch at my hand. She curls into my palm. Tia doesn't believe girls should wear black, but if I wasn't a woman before today, I think I am one now. When I ask Tia if my father's brother, Tio Jorge, will be coming with Papi's body, she hesitates a long moment and fingers a loose fringe that's fallen free from her head wrap. Bueno, te digo que no sé. But her tense shoulders seem to know more than she's telling me. I look at her sideways, and we walk arm in arm into the church. How are we to plan a funeral if we don't know who's coming? Will people be staying with us? How much do we need to cook? 100 other questions puff into dandelions, wisp up in the air between us, but Tia just shakes her head and doesn't make a wish on a single one. In the middle of the night, Tia shakes me awake from a dream where I am wandering New York City, screaming my father's name. At first, I think I must have been screaming out loud, but when my eyes adjust to the dark, I see Tia is carrying her healer's bag. I get dressed quickly in jeans and sandals. Do not bother putting on a bra or brushing my hair. I can tell by the worried way she riffles inside her bag that this is an emergency situation, as if we don't have enough to deal with. When we step outside the house, a young man waits. Shadows darken his face, but as I get closer, I see it's Nelson, Caroline's boyfriend, who made eyes at her since she was 5, and we would all splash each other in the ocean, like we've discovered a personal water park. He must have been recruited to fetch us. I do not ask what is wrong. There is only one reason we walk the uneven streets in the dark. Tia's white clothing a splash of brightness against the unlit night. Good thing we know this ramshackle neighborhood as well as we know the webs between our fingers. She stops in front of the yellow house, and there must be a power outage because inside is pitch black, except for a couple of candles burning in the window. Caroline's mama opens the door. Although it is dark, I can see the one room house is swept clean and scrubbed cleaner, but still too small for all the people we must fit inside. Mammon and Caroline's father, an older man who rarely smiles, and Tia and myself and Nelson and Caroline's babe attempting to push itself out. And Caroline's face is red and sweaty. She's sprawled on a faded couch, her hands clutching her belly. I towel off Caroline's forehead. Tia asks Caroline's mama questions in her calm curandera voice. When did the construction start? When was the last time she went to the clinic? Was her water broken? How long ago? Caroline clutches my hand tightly, and I attempt to circle out her worries with my thumb. If there is anything to be done, Tia will do it. Caroline should be in a hospital, but Maman says the babe is coming too fast, and they panicked thinking of the logistics. It's not an easy thing to do for an Asian parent to bring their child to a Dominican hospital to give birth. There is already a lot of tension around who here deserves care. I cannot fault Maman for being too afraid. Tia's questions are asked as firmly as the hand she presses onto Caroline's belly. As a curandera, Tia is fierce, channeling something beyond herself. I unfold long white sheets and wrap them around cushions to protect the space where Caroline will give birth. I use the flashlight on my phone to get my bearings in the house. Tia pulls her up by the elbows and bears Caroline's weight, then prays and calls protective spirits into the room. I reach into her bag and grab the tea made from thyme. Caroline's father looks stern, but I see his hands tremble as he settles them on the back of a chair. He mumbles under his breath in Creole, and I wonder if he too is praying. Tia settles Caroline more comfortably on the birthing bed I've made. She guides Caroline to breathe, to push, to wait. I see thick towels on the floor. Nelson rushes to help me. His fingers jerk sharply as we straighten the space. Fear clouds the room, a thick fog, but Tia's calm voice is a flame cutting through it. I switch places with Tia, and my arms grow heavy where I sit behind Caroline, holding her up. I'm sweating almost as hard as she is. I try to breathe deeply as I hold my best friend up. I try not to think of all the ways I know premature labor can go wrong. Tia is red in the face and her eyes are wary, although you can tell by her steady movements. Although you can tell by her steady movements. One last hard push, Nina. The baby is crowning. Caroline doesn't seem to have any more energy. She's panting hard, her eyes squeezed shut, and I am worried if this is not the last push. Come on, Caroline, I whisper. You did not carry this baby all these months not to see it into the light. Con fuerza. I wipe the sweaty hair at her forehead and she weeps into the crook of my arm, but she pushes and pushes and pushes. The small body plops down into Tia's waiting hand, like a wrinkled fruit from a shaken tree. The baby boy is tiny, quiet. Tia is a woman woven of miracles. The reason people who are afraid of her and her magic, the reason people who are afraid of her and her magic still call for the worst emergencies is because Tia is a woman who speaks to the dead, who negotiates with spirits, who loosens their fingers when they clutch around the neck of someone she wants to live. It doesn't always work. I know personally sometimes Tia is too late. Sometimes the request is too great and Tia is bargaining not enough. Sometimes Tia is only a healer woman with calloused hands and a commanding voice with ointments and tea. This woman who holds a baby not her own says, "Ven, mijo, ven." Sometimes Tia is more. She calls forward his life when it would retreat, and the room holds its breath as if we can gift it to the child. When Caroline weeps and Tia prays and curses and coaxes, a child to breathe, 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 pressing her two fingers against his chest, beating his heart from him, oblivious to the sleek of his body and blue of his lips, to the collective sob of the room, to the spirits who would greet him on their side of the veil. Tia takes air into her mouth and pushes it into the child's mouth, does this again and again, from her body to his, until it seems impossible, this bringing forth of life. When death is so steadily stalking into the room, and the baby inhales a deep gasp, just as the electricity returns to the barrio and the small house becomes filled, brilliant bright. I have been so entrenched in death and drowning and funerals that this seems an amazing thing to see this babe clutch at the air, to see this child who should not be here, not only here but here, through my own tears. I see all of us are crying. And tired Caroline holds the child close to her breast and grips my hand. Tia gives instructions of her teeth to brew, ointments to make, and advice on latching. She'll come back if Caroline needs help swaddling. Mama hugs me to her chest as we are leaving. She says thank you and thrusts some pesos at me. She says she will wash the sheets and return them. Caroline holds her child. Nelson holds his hat. The old man does not say a word, but tears trail down his cheeks as he walks us to the door. Pause.